Ryan was a young human man who had come to the alien world called Vereen to work as a translator. The humans and the Vereen people had been in peaceful contact for almost 10 years now. Both sides wanted to learn about each other and share knowledge. The Vereen were tall and graceful, with skin that shimmered like soft blue metal under sunlight. Their eyes were silver and calm, and they spoke in a musical language that Ryan had spent many months studying. He loved his work. Every morning he walked from his small house in the trade district to the great palace in the city of Vere, where the royal family lived. His job was simple. He helped translate trade and science papers between human and Vereen scholars. Sometimes he also helped at royal meetings where both sides discussed peaceful projects. The palace was huge and beautiful, made of white stone with blue crystal roofs that caught the light of the twin suns. Ryan often felt small walking through the grand halls, but he always reminded himself that he was there to help build trust between their two worlds. That morning, everything seemed normal. Ryan had been asked to deliver some important papers to the palace archives. He had done this many times before. He greeted the guards politely and entered through the side hall. The palace had many long corridors, and Ryan had memorized most of them. Still, it was easy to get lost because every hallway looked almost the same. The air smelled faintly of flowers, and soft music always played from the crystal walls. It made the place feel almost magical. Ryan walked down the wrong corridor without noticing. He carried the stack of papers in his hands, reading the labels as he walked. When he reached a door with a golden frame, he thought it led to the archive chamber. He gently pushed it open. The door slid quietly aside, and he stepped inside. The room was not what he expected. Instead of rows of documents, there was a large mirror made of shining glass. Silver curtains covered the walls, and soft light filled the air. In the center of the room stood someone he did not expect to see. A young woman, tall and elegant, with long white hair that flowed like silk. Her blue skin glowed softly in the gentle light. She was the most beautiful being he had ever seen in his life. But before Ryan could understand what was happening, she turned around in shock. It was Princess Lirel, the only daughter of Queen Amira of Vereen. Ryan realized at once what terrible mistake he had made. The princess was changing her ceremonial clothes. She was not fully dressed, though the silver fabric she held covered most of her. For a single breath, both of them stood frozen in complete silence. Ryan's heart raced. He quickly turned away and said in a trembling voice, "I'm so sorry, Your Highness. I thought this was the archive room. I made a mistake." He dropped the papers he was holding and tried to step back out, but before he could reach the door, 2 royal guards appeared. They had seen him enter and heard the noise. One of them shouted, "Stop! No one is allowed in here." They grabbed Ryan by the arms before he could explain. The princess quickly wrapped herself in her silver robe and said, "Wait." It was an accident. He did not know, but the guards did not listen. To them, this was not a small mistake. It was a violation of an ancient royal law that no one dared to break. Ryan tried to speak, but the guards led him away firmly through the hall. His heart sank as he saw the shocked faces of the palace attendants. Some whispered his name, others looked at him with pity. He felt as if his world had collapsed. He had not meant any harm, but on this world, honor and tradition were everything. He was brought to a small holding chamber beneath the palace. It was clean but cold. The guards told him to wait there until the royal council decided what to do. Ryan sat on the stone bench, shaking his head. "This cannot be real," he whispered. "It was just a mistake. I did nothing wrong." Hours passed slowly. Outside the chamber, he could hear footsteps and murmurs. Finally, an old Vereen scholar entered. His name was Saren, and he had always been kind to Ryan. Saren looked worried. "Ryan," he said in a calm tone, "you must prepare yourself. The situation is serious." Ryan stood quickly. "Please, Saren, tell them I did not mean it. I opened the wrong door. I did not even know the princess was there." Saren sighed deeply. "I know, my friend. But the law of Vereen royalty is ancient and very strict. If a person sees a royal heir in such a private state, it is seen as a bond of destiny. The old belief says that the 2 souls become joined by the stars. To break that bond brings dishonor to the crown. So the law gives only 2 choices. Ryan's voice trembled. 2 choices? What do you mean? Serene looked down. Either marriage or death. Ryan could not speak. The words struck him like ice. He stared at Saren, hoping it was a joke, but the old scholar's face was full of sorrow. This law is older than any of us, Saren continued. It was made in the time of the first queens. The council must now decide your fate. Even the princess herself cannot change it easily. Ryan sat back down slowly. His thoughts were spinning. He had come to this world to help build peace, not to break a royal rule. He had never imagined something like this could happen. He thought about Earth, about his friends back home, about how strange fate could be. He had seen the princess for only a second, and now his life was hanging by an ancient law. As night fell, he was left alone. The twin moons of Vereen rose outside the window, casting a soft blue glow into the room. Ryan could not sleep. He kept thinking about the princess's face when she turned to him. She had looked surprised but not angry. Her eyes were calm, almost gentle, as if she understood that he did not mean harm. He wondered if she could speak to the council on his behalf. But then he remembered what Saren said. Even she might not be able to change anything. The next morning, the guards returned and took him to a grand hall inside the palace. The walls shimmered with gold and silver symbols of the royal family. The air felt heavy and silent. At the far end sat the Royal Council of Vereen, a circle of elder advisors who guarded the traditions of their people. In the center, upon a raised seat, sat Queen Amira, tall and proud with a calm but unreadable face. Beside her stood Princess Lyrael, wearing a long blue gown that shimmered like water. Her eyes met Ryan's for a moment, and he saw kindness in them. The Queen spoke first. Her voice was steady and regal. "Human translator Ryan of Earth, you have been brought here because you entered a private royal chamber without permission. By ancient law, such an act binds the fates of both parties. You have seen the royal heir in an unguarded moment. The law of the stars says this must be answered by union or by death. The council will now consider your case." Ryan bowed his head respectfully. "Your Majesty, I am deeply sorry. It was an accident. I thought I was entering the archive room. I meant no disrespect." Before the Queen could answer, Lyrael stepped forward. "Mother, please. He is telling the truth. I saw his face." He was frightened and turned away at once. "He did not mean to harm me." The Queen's eyes softened slightly, but the elders around her whispered among themselves. One of them said, "The law has no exceptions. It is not for us to question the stars." Another added, "To change the law would bring shame to the crown. The people must see justice." Lyrael looked angry for the first time. "Justice or cruelty?" she asked. "He is innocent." Her voice echoed through the hall, but the elders said nothing more. The Queen raised her hand, and the room fell silent. "The council will meet tomorrow to decide," she said. "Until then, the human will remain under royal watch. Princess Lyrael, you will stay in your quarters. This matter will be handled with care." The guards led Ryan away again. As he was taken back through the golden halls, he glanced back once more. Lyrael was watching him quietly, her silver eyes full of thought. For the first time, Ryan saw that maybe she did not only see him as a stranger, maybe she felt the weight of the same ancient rule pressing on both of them. When the doors closed behind him, Ryan took a deep breath. His heart was heavy, but somewhere inside him he felt a strange calm. He had always believed that every meeting in life had a purpose. Maybe this one did too. He did not know what the council would decide, but he knew one thing. The look in the princess's eyes gave him hope that not all laws were stronger than kindness. Morning light filled the sky above the royal palace of Vereen. The twin suns rose slowly, spreading soft blue and gold light across the marble towers. The city below woke up to another peaceful day. But inside the palace, everyone was whispering about only one thing: the human translator who had broken the royal law. Ryan sat quietly in his small chamber under guard. He had not slept well. His thoughts were heavy and restless. Every sound outside made him wonder if the council had made a decision. He had seen the kindness in Princess Lyrael's eyes, and that memory gave him a little comfort, but he knew it might not be enough to save him. When the door opened, Ryan stood quickly. It was the old scholar Saren again. His face was serious but calm. He carried a small tablet with shining Vereen symbols. "The Queen has called for another hearing," Saren said. "You must come with me. The council has finished its discussion." Ryan followed him through the quiet hall. The guards walked beside them without speaking. The palace was filled with morning light, and the air smelled of crystal flowers. Ryan's heart was pounding. He tried to keep his mind clear. He thought of his family on Earth, his friends, and the reason he had come here: to build peace, not to destroy it. When they entered the great hall again, the queen and the council were already seated. Princess Lyriel stood beside her mother, her silver eyes calm but strong. Ryan noticed she looked tired, as if she had been awake all night. The queen raised her hand and the hall became silent. "Ryan of Earth," she said in a steady voice, "our council has spoken. The law of the stars is clear. When one sees the royal heir in a private state, the spirits of destiny link their fates. This law was made thousands of years ago, to protect the honor of the crown and the balance of our people." Ryan kept his eyes lowered respectfully. "Your Majesty, I understand your law, but it was not my choice. I did not wish to offend or harm anyone. Please believe that I respect your traditions." The queen nodded slowly. "We believe your words, human. Even the princess herself has said that it was an accident. But our law is not built on intent. It is built on destiny. The punishment or union is not seen as a choice, but as the will of the stars." One of the council elders, a tall man with silver robes, stepped forward and spoke. "There are only two paths. The first is the trial of the end, in which the human is given to the stars for purification. The death of the body, the freedom of the spirit. The second is the union of honor, where the one who saw the heir must join with her in sacred marriage to restore her dignity and seal the bond." Ryan froze. The words felt unreal. He had already heard them from Saren, but hearing them in the great hall made them sound heavier. Death or marriage. There was no middle path. Princess Lyriel lifted her chin and said, "Mother, elders, may I speak?" The queen nodded and the hall grew silent again. Lyriel took a deep breath. "You all know this human did not mean harm. He entered the wrong room. It was an accident, not an act of disrespect. The law was made in a time of superstition and fear, when the people did not understand other worlds. But now we live in peace with humans. We trade knowledge, art, and friendship. Are we to hold to an ancient rule that demands death for a mistake?" One of the elders frowned. "Princess, the law cannot be broken. The honor of the crown stands above personal feeling." Lyriel turned toward him. "And what of justice? What of truth? Honor means nothing if it destroys innocence." The queen watched her daughter with careful eyes. "Lyriel," she said softly, "you speak from the heart, but the law binds us all. Even I cannot simply erase it. Only if the council agrees can a change be made, and the council guards our past with care." Lyriel bowed her head respectfully. "Then I ask the council to listen not to fear but to reason." Ryan stood quietly, watching the exchange. He admired her courage. She could have stayed silent, but she risked everything to defend him. The hall buzzed with soft voices as the elders whispered among themselves. Some looked uncertain, others strict and cold. At last the queen said, "Until a final choice is made, the human shall remain under the protection of the royal house. He will not be harmed. He will stay within the palace walls. The council will speak again soon." Ryan was taken back to his chamber, but this time the guards were gentler. They gave him clean clothes and food. Through the window he could see the blue gardens of the palace, full of strange flowers that moved with the wind. For the first time he noticed how quiet everything was. It felt like the entire world was waiting for what would happen next. That evening, as the twin moons rose, there was a soft knock at his door. Ryan turned and saw Princess Lyriel standing there. She wore a simple robe instead of her royal gown. The guards outside bowed and stepped back to give her privacy. Ryan stood, surprised and unsure what to say. "Your Highness," he said softly, "you should not be here. If the council sees you—" "They will not," she said. Her voice was calm but gentle. "I wanted to speak to you." "May I come in?" Ryan nodded. She entered the small chamber and looked around. It was plain and quiet, a simple stone room with one window. She turned back to him and smiled faintly. "This is not a fitting place for someone who came here to help my people." "I do not mind," Ryan said. "I only wish I could explain to your council what really happened." "You already did," she replied. "They simply do not want to listen. The law gives them power, and they fear what will happen if it changes." She looked out the window toward the garden. "My mother is kind, but she must follow the will of the council. Even she cannot act alone." Ryan studied her face. She looked thoughtful, her silver eyes bright in the moonlight. "You tried to help me," he said. "Thank you." Lyriel looked back at him and smiled. "You do not need to thank me. I saw truth in your eyes. You were honest, not fearful or rude. The old law cannot see the difference between intent and accident, but I can. You did nothing wrong. Her words warmed Ryan's heart. For the first time since his capture, he felt a sense of peace. They spoke for a long time that night. She asked him about Earth, about oceans, forests, and the music humans made. Ryan told her stories about simple human life, how children learned to dream, how families worked together, and how people found joy even in small things. Lyriel listened with interest. She told him about Vereen traditions, about the way her people saw the stars as living spirits that guided them. Their talk stretched into the late hours. When she finally stood to leave, she said softly, "Tomorrow the council will speak again. They will press my mother for a decision. I do not know what will happen, but I will do everything I can to protect you." Ryan bowed slightly. "I trust you, Princess." She paused at the door and looked back. "My name is Lyriel. You may call me that when we are alone." Ryan smiled faintly. "Then you may call me Ryan, not translator." She smiled too, and for the first time the distance between them felt smaller. She left quietly and the room grew silent again. The next morning, the entire palace was busy. Couriers moved through the halls carrying scrolls. The queen had called another council. Ryan could hear the distant sound of the ceremonial horns. He stood by the window and watched the bright city below. He felt both nervous and strangely calm. He did not know what fate awaited him, but he knew one thing: Lyriel had not given up. Later that day, Saren came again. "The council is restless," he said. "The queen seeks a way to honor both tradition and truth. The princess's words have touched her, but the elders are proud. They do not wish to appear weak before the people." "Then what will happen?" Ryan asked. Saren looked unsure. "If the queen cannot convince them to change the law, she may offer a third path, a public trial of choice. The princess would have to speak her will before the people. If she refuses the union, the council will demand your death. But if she accepts it, the law will stand fulfilled." Ryan was silent. The thought of Lyriel being forced to choose between him and her people filled him with sadness. He had only met her by chance, yet now both their lives were tied together by an ancient rule. That night Ryan could not sleep again. He looked at the stars through the window and wondered what they meant by destiny. Somewhere above, perhaps the same stars shone over Earth. He whispered softly to himself, "Whatever happens, I will face it with courage." In her chamber, Lyriel stood at her window too, looking at the same sky. The light of the moons touched her face. She thought about Ryan's words, about his honesty and the peace she saw in his eyes. For the first time in her life, she questioned the law that shaped her world. She wondered if the stars truly wanted fear or if they wanted understanding. And far above them, the twin moons crossed paths in the sky, their light blending into one. The old people of Vereen used to say that when the moons joined, destinies began to change. The morning sun spread golden light over the white towers of the palace. The air was calm, but the hearts of many inside were restless. The story of the human translator and the princess had spread across the city of Vere. People whispered about it in the markets and streets. Some thought it was destiny, others called it a shame. The royal guards tried to stop the rumors, but stories traveled faster than commands. Ryan stayed under royal guard, but his room had been moved to a better place. Now he lived in a small guest house near the inner gardens. The queen had ordered it so that he would remain safe until the council made its final choice. Ryan spent his days walking near the crystal ponds, reading his notes and trying not to think too much about what might happen. One afternoon, while he sat near a fountain, he heard a soft voice behind him. "You seem lonely today." He turned and saw Princess Lyriel standing there. She wore a light blue gown and carried a small silver box in her hands. Her smile was calm and her silver eyes shone gently under the sun. Ryan stood up at once. "Your Highness, you should not be here." "The guards, they know," she said, sitting beside him. "My mother has given me permission to speak with you. She believes that if we are to understand each other, we must talk." Ryan sat again, unsure what to say. Lyriel opened the silver box. Inside were small fruit pieces that looked like shining crystals. She handed one to him. "This is called a Saren fruit. It grows only on the high mountains. Try it." Ryan took one carefully and tasted it. The flavor was soft and sweet. He smiled. "It's wonderful," she nodded. "It is said to calm the mind. I thought you might need it." They sat quietly for a while, watching the water move in the fountain. The garden was full of glowing flowers that moved slowly like living music. Ryan felt peaceful for the first time in days. He looked at her and said softly, "You have been very kind to me. I don't understand why you risk your honor for someone like me." Lyrael turned her eyes toward the water. "Because I see truth in you. You came here to help our people. You did not come as a soldier or a thief. You made a mistake, but you have shown respect and courage. Many of my people fear humans because they do not understand them. But I have read about your world. I admire how your people face challenges with heart and hope." Ryan felt touched. "On Earth, we believe that no mistake should cost a life. I hope your council will see that too." "I hope so," she said quietly. "But they are proud and afraid of change. The law gives them power. To change it means to question everything they have protected for centuries." Ryan sighed. "Then maybe change must begin with someone brave enough to try." Lyrael looked at him and smiled. "You speak like a dreamer," he smiled back. Dreams are how humans survive. From that day, Lyrael visited him often. Sometimes they walked through the palace gardens. Sometimes they talked inside the library where ancient books told stories of both worlds. She asked him about Earth, seas, and skies, and he told her how the oceans stretched for endless miles and how humans dreamed of reaching the stars. He learned that she loved music and painting, and that she often felt trapped by the duties of being a princess. As the days passed, their friendship grew stronger. Ryan began to see that behind her royal grace was a lonely soul longing for freedom. She began to see that behind his quiet manners was a man full of curiosity and kindness. Their talks became longer, their laughter softer, and their silences peaceful. But not everyone in the palace liked it. The royal council began to watch closely. The elder named Varan spoke to the queen. "Your Majesty, this closeness between the princess and the human is dangerous. The people already talk. They believe she favors him. If she chooses him by will, it will change our order forever." The queen listened carefully. "She has a kind heart, Varan. I will not stop her from speaking to him. The law binds them already. Let her see with her own eyes what she feels." Varan bowed but did not look pleased. He left the hall with quiet anger. That evening, when Lyrael came to visit Ryan again, her steps were slower. She looked worried. Ryan noticed it at once. "Something is wrong?" he asked. "The council grows impatient," she said. "They wish for my mother to end this matter soon. Some even demand your trial to begin tomorrow. They say I'm letting my emotions cloud judgment." Ryan was silent for a moment. "And what do you think?" She looked at him. "I think they are wrong. They call it emotion, but I call it truth. You have shown honor and honesty. If the law truly means to bind fates, then maybe it is not a curse but a lesson. Maybe our worlds were meant to meet this way." Ryan's heart beat faster. "Lyrael, I do not want to cause you any trouble. I only wish for peace between our people," she smiled faintly. "Peace begins with understanding, and I understand you." A gentle breeze passed through the garden carrying the scent of flowers. The twin moons had risen, painting the garden in silver light. For a moment they both stayed quiet, watching the light dance on the water. Later that night, Ryan returned to his chamber. He could not sleep. He thought about Lyrael's words again and again. Something inside him had changed. He had come to Vereen as a worker, but now he was part of something larger, something that could change both worlds. The next morning, the queen called both of them to the great balcony that overlooked the city. The palace guard stood at a distance while the queen spoke in a calm tone. "Lyrael, Ryan, I have allowed you time to understand each other. Now I must ask you both a question." They bowed respectfully. The queen looked at Ryan first. "Human, if given the choice between marriage to my daughter or leaving this world forever, what would you choose?" Ryan hesitated. "Your Majesty, I came here to build trust, not to take what is not mine. But I will not lie. I have come to respect and care for your daughter. I would not dishonor her by rejecting what the stars have joined. Still, I do not wish to force her into anything." The queen nodded and turned to her daughter. "And you, Lyrael, if given the same choice, what would you do?" Lyrael took a deep breath. "Mother, I would choose the path of my heart. If destiny truly joined us, then it must be for a reason. But I will not make that choice under fear. Let the people see the truth before any law binds us." The queen studied both of them quietly. Then she said, "Very well. Tomorrow there will be a public trial in the Hall of Stars. The people of Vereen will witness it. You, my daughter, will speak your heart before all. If you choose the human willingly, the law will be fulfilled. If you do not, the council will demand his life. This is the only way to bring peace between old law and new truth. Lyrael bowed. I understand. Ryan looked at her with worry, but she met his eyes calmly. Do not be afraid, she whispered. The truth will shine. That night, the city of Vare glowed with thousands of lights as the news spread. People filled the streets talking about the human and the princess who would face destiny together. Some cheered, saying it was a sign of new times. Others feared it, calling it a break in tradition. In her room, Lyrael stood before her mirror, thinking of what she would say. She thought about her people, her mother and Ryan. She remembered how he had looked at her with respect, not desire or fear, and how he had spoken about freedom and choice. For the first time, she realized that she did not want to follow rules just because they were old. She wanted to follow what she believed was right. Ryan, in his chamber, looked out the window at the twin moons. He wondered if tomorrow would be his last day or the beginning of a new life. He did not know what the princess would say, but he trusted her heart. As the night grew quiet, both of them looked at the same sky from different rooms. The stars above seemed brighter, as if waiting for their answer. Somewhere deep inside the palace, the old council prepared their scrolls for the trial. The law of the stars would be read again, but none of them knew that the next sunrise would change the history of Vereen forever. The human and the princess were no longer strangers joined by mistake. They were two souls standing at the edge of destiny, ready to decide whether law ruled fate or love could write a new one. The sun rose over the city of Vare with a soft golden light. The twin moons had disappeared, leaving the sky clear and bright. The city was alive with whispers, and the streets leading to the palace were crowded. Today was the day of the public trial, the day when destiny would decide the fate of Ryan and Princess Lyrael. Ryan walked nervously through the palace halls, accompanied by Saren. The hall was decorated with banners of blue and silver, the colors of the royal family. Couriers hurried past with messages. Guards lined the corridors, keeping order as the people of Vereen and special guests gathered in the Hall of Stars. Ryan had never seen so many people in one place. He tried to steady his heart, but every step felt heavy. This is bigger than any mistake, Ryan, Saren said quietly. But remember, the princess believes in you. That will give you strength, Ryan nodded. I hope it is enough. The Hall of Stars was enormous. Its ceiling was high and arched, decorated with crystals that reflected sunlight in rainbow colors. Rows of seats stretched down to the marble floor, filled with citizens, scholars, and elders. At the far end, the royal throne stood upon a raised platform. Queen Amira sat in the center, dignified and calm. Princess Lyrael stood beside her, holding her head high. The council elders took their seats in a semicircle around the queen. They looked serious and unyielding. Every eye in the hall was on Ryan as he stepped forward. His chest tightened, but he reminded himself to be calm. Queen Amira raised her hand. People of Vereen, today we gather to honor the law of the stars and the traditions of our ancestors. A human has entered a private chamber of the royal heir. By our ancient law, this act binds the fates of both parties. The Princess Lyrael has the right to speak her heart and choose the path of destiny. The hall was silent. The air felt heavy. Ryan stood still, feeling the weight of every gaze. He saw curiosity, fear, and hope in the eyes of the citizens. He wondered if they would accept a human among them or reject him. Queen Amira spoke again. Princess Lyrael, you have known this human for some days. You have seen his heart, his courage, and his honesty. The law offers two paths, death for the human or a sacred union between you. Speak now and let all hear your choice. Lyrael stepped forward. Her blue skin shone softly in the morning light. She looked at Ryan for a moment, her silver eyes steady. Then she turned to the crowd. People of Vereen, I will speak the truth. This human did not come here to dishonor us. He entered by mistake, and yet his heart has shown courage, kindness, and respect. He is not my enemy. He is my friend, and I have come to see that he can be more. A murmur passed through the crowd. Some gasped, others whispered. Ryan's heart pounded, but he did not move. He did not know what she would say next. Lyrael raised her voice so all could hear. The law says that someone who sees the royal heir in a private state must be judged. But laws must serve truth, not destroy it. I have thought deeply about this. I know that the law was made to protect honor, but honor is not lost through accident or honesty. I speak now not to challenge our traditions, but to preserve them with wisdom. I choose the human, Ryan, willingly. Let this union honor both our worlds, not divide them. The hall was silent for a moment, and then whispers of surprise and astonishment spread like wind. The council elders looked shocked. Some frowned, others exchanged quiet words. One elder, the tallest and oldest, spoke sharply. "Princess, are you certain? To marry a human is to leave the path of your ancestors. You would risk your claim to the throne and the respect of our people." Lyriel's gaze remained steady. "I am certain. My duty is to the truth, not fear. If the law is meant to guide our actions, it must serve the good of all, not the destruction of the innocent. I accept Ryan as my partner willingly. This is not rebellion, but honor." Ryan felt a wave of relief and awe. The princess had chosen him, not because the law forced her, but because she believed in him. He bowed low, respecting the moment. "Princess Lyriel, I am honored. I will do my best to respect your people, your culture, and your heart. I do not take this lightly." The queen studied them both. She did not speak immediately, but her eyes softened. Then she said, "Very well. The choice of the princess is clear. The law of the stars shall be fulfilled through willing union, not fear. Let this act stand as a symbol of understanding and peace." The council elders looked at each other. Some nodded slowly, others still looked uncertain. But no one spoke against the queen. The decision had been made. Ryan and Lyriel had passed the test of truth, courage, and honor. The crowd began to clap softly. Slowly the applause grew, filling the great hall with sound. People who had doubted Ryan now looked at him with curiosity and respect. Some approached the balcony to get a better view, whispering about the human who had won the heart of the princess. After the trial, Ryan was escorted to a quiet chamber where Lyriel awaited him. She smiled warmly. "You have done well," she said softly. "The people will need time to accept this, but I believe they will see what I see, that you are worthy of trust." Ryan felt a mix of relief and joy. "I am grateful, Princess. I did not know if I would survive, but your courage gave me strength." She placed a hand gently on his arm. "And your honesty gave me hope. Together we can face what comes next, not as human and alien, but as partners." The following days were filled with preparation for the ceremonial union. The palace was decorated with banners, crystal flowers, and shimmering lights. Citizens of Virene and human representatives came from across the world to witness the joining. Ryan trained in the palace customs, learning the correct gestures, words, and manners. Lyriel guided him patiently, helping him understand the significance of each tradition. Through it all, they grew closer. They walked through the palace gardens together, spoke quietly in the library, and shared simple meals in the dining halls. They laughed, learned from each other, and discovered the joy of understanding across worlds. What began as fear and accident had grown into friendship, respect, and trust. On the eve of the ceremonial union, Ryan and Lyriel stood alone in the palace garden. The twin moons had returned, casting silver light on the flowers. The air was cool and calm. "Tomorrow," Lyriel said softly, "our lives will change. The people will watch us, but what matters is what we choose here together." Ryan nodded. "I know. I feel ready because I trust you. Whatever happens, I will stand by you." She smiled. "And I will stand by you. Let us face this as equals, as friends, as partners. Let the stars guide us." The twin moons reflected in the crystal pond. For the first time, both of them felt a sense of destiny that was not frightening but full of promise. Their story was no longer about fear or punishment. It was about courage, choice, and the possibility of a new beginning. As the night deepened, the palace grew quiet. The city slept beneath the twin moons. Ryan and Lyriel sat by the pond, feeling the calm that comes when fear is replaced by hope. Tomorrow, the union would be official. Tomorrow, humanity and Virene would see a new path, one guided not by rigid law, but by understanding, truth, and partnership. And somewhere above, in the vast sky of Virene, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if celebrating the courage of two souls who chose honesty, respect, and hope over fear. Ryan and Lyriel had faced the impossible. They had seen the weight of ancient law, and they had chosen each other willingly. The trial of the princess was over, but the journey had only just begun. Together they would face the challenges of a new world, bridging two cultures, two peoples, and two hearts into one story of trust, honor, and hope. The day of the ceremonial union arrived. The sky above Vere was clear, the twin suns shining brightly on the white towers of the palace. The streets were full of people, both Virene and humans, who had come to witness the event. It was not only a royal ceremony, but a moment of history. a human and the Princess of Vereen standing together to honor the law of the stars in a new way. Inside the palace, Ryan prepared carefully. Saren helped him with the ceremonial robe, a flowing garment of soft blue and silver that reflected the light of the twin suns. Ryan had learned each movement, each bow, and each phrase, but even with preparation, his heart beat faster than he had ever felt. "This will be a new beginning, Ryan," Saren said gently. "The people will remember this day. Trust in Princess Lyral and all will be well." Ryan nodded, feeling both nervous and hopeful. "I will do my best. I just hope the people will accept me." "They will," Lyral said from behind him. She stepped forward in her ceremonial gown of silver and pale blue, her hair flowing softly. Her presence was calming. "Not all will understand at first, but they will see the truth. They will see that courage, honesty, and respect are stronger than fear." Ryan turned to her. "Thank you for standing by me. I do not know what I would have done without your courage," she smiled. "We are partners now. This journey is ours together." The hall where the ceremony would take place was grander than anything Ryan had imagined. Crystal chandeliers hung from the ceiling, reflecting light across the polished floor. The Hall of Stars was filled with citizens, elders, and visitors from other human worlds. Everyone waited in silence as Queen Amira took her seat, the council seated beside her. Lyral and Ryan entered together, walking slowly down the aisle. The crowd watched in awe, not only at the spectacle but at the unprecedented sight of a human and a Vereen princess united in purpose. Some faces showed wonder, others uncertainty, but every eye followed their every step. The Queen raised her hand. "People of Vereen, today we witness a union guided by the stars and honored by choice. The law of the stars has spoken through Princess Lyral, who has chosen this human willingly. Let this act remind us that honor, truth, and respect are the greatest gifts our world can give." The elders looked solemn but bowed their heads. One by one, they offered silent acknowledgement of the change that was unfolding. This was not rebellion but evolution. The law of the stars would continue, but now it would honor understanding and compassion. Ryan and Lyral reached the ceremonial platform. The priest, a wise elder with silver robes and calm eyes, spoke softly, but his words carried through the hall. "By the law of the stars, the union is to be blessed. The human who saw the royal heir and the princess who accepts him shall now take vows of partnership and respect. May the stars guide them and their world toward peace." Lyral took Ryan's hands in hers. Her touch was light but steady, and her silver eyes looked deep into his. "Ryan," she said softly, "we stand here together, not because of fear or accident, but because of trust, honesty, and courage. Will you join me as my partner and friend, to honor the people and the law with your heart?" Ryan took a deep breath, his voice firm despite the pounding of his heart. "I will, Princess Lyral. I promise to honor your people, your world, and your heart. I will stand with you, not as a stranger, but as a partner in truth, courage, and understanding." The hall was quiet, every soul holding its breath. Then the priest nodded and spoke the final words. "By the law of the stars, this union is recognized. May it guide the hearts of all who witness it. Let the human and the princess walk forward together as one." Under the eyes of the cosmos, the crowd erupted into applause, some hesitant at first, but the sound grew louder, filling the Hall of Stars with celebration. The elders stood, some smiling subtly, others with a look of pride for the bravery shown by the princess. Citizens cheered, some waving banners of blue and silver. Even the guards allowed themselves small smiles. After the ceremony, Ryan and Lyral walked through the palace gardens. The twin moons had begun to rise, casting a silver light across the petals of the crystal flowers. People gathered along the paths to watch them, many whispering words of admiration. Some children reached out, curious about the human who had come to their world and was accepted so openly by the princess. Lyral looked at Ryan and said softly, "Do you feel it? This is not just about us. It is about a new path for everyone, humans and Vereen, learning to understand and trust each other." Ryan smiled. "I do feel it. I never imagined this would happen. I never imagined being part of something so important. I only hoped to help, and now it seems we are helping in a way I never thought possible." They walked in silence for a moment, the soft rustle of leaves and the sound of water in the fountains surrounding them. The air was full of hope, the calm before the new days ahead. That evening, the queen gathered the council and the royal citizens in a special assembly. "Let this day be remembered," she said, "as the day when the law of the stars changed. Not because it was broken, but because it was honored in truth. From now on, no one shall be punished for an accident or misunderstanding. Honor must serve justice, not fear. Let this law guide our people toward unity and peace." The council elders nodded. One by one, they acknowledged the change. Some still held their pride, but they understood that courage and honesty had shaped a new future. Ryan and Lyriel stood together as the people of Vare approached them to offer congratulations. Ryan felt warmth in every smile, respect in every glance, and hope in every voice. People were learning that courage could come in many forms, even through simple honesty, even through the choice to forgive and trust. Over the following weeks, life in the palace settled into a new rhythm. Ryan continued his work as a translator, but now with greater respect. He and Lyriel often walked the gardens, studied together, and shared stories from both worlds. They spoke about the stars and the oceans, about mountains and forests, about ideas and dreams. Each day brought them closer, not just in friendship, but in understanding the hearts of each other's worlds. The story of their union spread beyond the city. Other human worlds heard about the courage of the princess and the honesty of the human who had entered her chamber by accident. The tale inspired people everywhere. They saw that destiny did not always follow strict law, but could also be guided by compassion, trust, and courage. One night, as Ryan and Lyriel stood on the palace balcony, they looked out at the twin moons. The light reflected in the crystal fountains and gardens. Lyriel said softly, "Do you see them, Ryan? Our worlds are connected now in ways they have never been before. And it all began with an accident, a choice, and honesty." Ryan nodded. "I see them. And I feel that this is only the beginning. Together we can help both our worlds grow, learn, and respect each other." Lyriel smiled and took his hand. "Yes, we will face challenges, but we will do it together. The law of the stars has guided us not to punishment but to partnership." And so the Palace of Vare became a place of new hope. The old law was honored, but it was reshaped by understanding. The human and the princess had shown that courage and honesty were stronger than fear. The people of Virene began to look at humans with respect, inspired by Ryan's integrity and Lyriel's wisdom. In the years that followed, the story of Ryan and Lyriel was told to every child on Virene. It became a symbol of courage, partnership, and the power of choice. Humanity gained honor among the Virene, and the bond between the two worlds grew stronger. Ryan learned that true courage was not in battles or weapons, but in honesty, respect, and trust. Lyriel learned that love and friendship could guide her beyond fear, beyond rigid law, into a future of hope and understanding. Together, they walked under the twin moons, looking at the stars above. The people of Virene celebrated the courage of their princess, and the humans celebrated the bravery of one of their own. Two worlds were united not by fear but by choice, and the stars above shone brighter, as if blessing the path of those who dared to be honest, kind, and courageous. And so, a new law of the stars was born, a law that honored truth, understanding, and partnership, forever reminding everyone that even accidents could lead to greatness. If met with courage and heart, Ryan and Lyriel stood together, hand in hand, as the twin moons reflected their light across the palace. They were no longer bound by fear or mistake. They were partners, friends, and symbols of hope for a universe that could now see the strength of humanity and the wisdom of the stars. The future had begun, and it was bright.